You know I'm back, like I never left.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Studio B, where we continue talking to student athletes about what it was like competing in such a unique season. We're now talking to volleyball seniors Emma Gaudreau, Olivia Bissett, Faith Smith, Kylie Shippey, Kristen Ryder, Evelyn Messenger, and Bella Lamore. We're talking to them about some of their favorite memories and more, so stay right here. Now on the pair of the podcast, Olivia Bissett and Faith Smith. Guys, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
And then first, there was a lot of discussion during the preseason on whether or not volleyball would be played this year. They ultimately decided it would be played with masks, had to be worn to compete. What was it like competing in masks?
I mean, it wasn't horrible. Compared to playing either outside or inside, I'd much rather play inside because it's a familiar setting. It's much easier to do simple things like jumping up. And I think all of us needed to find our own type of mask, if that makes any sense. Like, I remember the first day I wore a cloth mask, and it was very hard to breathe. And then we got the gaiters, and when I put that on, it was much easier to breathe. So we all just had to find our own, or like what works best for us.
I like that. And you alluded to it. You played outside for a little bit in the preseason. You practiced on the softball field. What was that experience like? In your back of your head, could you have played volleyball outside? I know wind, because you were practicing up on the softball field. The wind's a very big factor up on Shepherd Hill. So could you have played outside?
No. Honestly, it was like the worst thing we could have ever done. Like, just the wind was horrible, and I just remember like so many balls going over that fence and going down like to the soccer field, and Airmoni was just getting frustrated with us.
Understandably, because I know as a runner, that wind is whipping around up there, so I can only imagine with a ball in the air where it could ultimately end up. And then, what was basic team activities? How did they change? I know wearing masks while competing. Was there any other things that really had to change for you guys throughout the season?
I mean, when we were outside, before we didn't even have a volleyball net. We weren't even on the softball field. It was like the grass field right outside the cafeteria. And we were only there for an hour. Like, we would stretch, do some dynamic workouts, I guess you could call them. And then we would pass. And then that was basically it. And then even when we were on the softball field, there was like 4 or 5 groups of girls before we made cuts. So we would each have like 15 minutes tops on the net. So it was different. But once we got inside, it was basically back to normal.
And like, we couldn't high five like during the games. That was weird. We couldn't, like, in the beginning, you couldn't say like good luck, or at the end like good game. Like, you had to stay on the 10-foot line. You couldn't go to the net. So that was different too.
And then what was it like knowing that you guys wouldn't be able to take part in the postseason experience this year because when the school went out, we had a positive case in the building? What was it like? Because we all understood playoffs in postseason was not going to look the same, but we were guaranteed 2 games for the postseason experience. And then to not compete in that, what was it like?
It was definitely heartbreaking. Like, for us knowing that it was like our last year, and it just was ruined at the end. It was disappointing when like we got that. We were told, like, we all just went to the gym and expecting to have practice, and he just told us to sit down and like, this is your last day. Like, you have to go home, and it was just a horrible experience.
And it was also hard because like you're mentally preparing, oh, your season is going to end in a week, but at least you still have 3 games. And then it's just all of a sudden one day he's like, well, it's over. Like, just get in your cars and go home. Like, so it was definitely like almost a punch in the gut, because it's like, that it's going to be your last week with your teammates and you're mentally preparing for that. And then all of a sudden it's just like taken away from you. So it was hard.
Yeah, to be blindsided like that, of just like you, I like how you put that, Olivia, of like you're mentally preparing for next week to be that last week, not realizing the week we are in right now is actually the last week. So you still thought you had more time. You're like, I have one more week. And they're like, no, I get that. And then what was it like competing on a regional schedule this season?
I mean, we played teams that we would play regularly, but some of those larger schools that we played, it was a lot tougher competition, which is kind of better games to play in because it's close, and those close games are always the best. So it was hard. Well, it was kind of disappointing not to play those teams, but at least I'm just glad we got to play something at least.
And then finished the season 8-2. How do you guys feel about the results of your season?
8-2 was good. I felt like we could have done a little bit better, but I'm happy with where we ended, I guess, with what was happening in the circumstances. So
I'm proud of us because it was definitely a different season that none of us were expecting. And we all had to adapt in our own ways. I mean, I know Faith had to go from a middle to setting, so that was very different. So I think we all adapted in our own ways, and I think we just all played good together.
The team was really strong in areas of passing and digging this year. What do you guys feel attributed to these key techniques?
Honestly, I just think it's funny that you say that because that was one thing Arimony got on us like so hard about, and especially like in previous years, that's something that we struggled in. So that's a good question. I don't really know. I mean, we practiced it a lot, and he would always get on us for it. So maybe that's why we just didn't want to get that death stare from him. But yeah, I'm proud of us. I'm proud that that's something notable for our season.
I definitely think that with Olivia and Kristen pounding on people on the other side of the net, that helped. But I agree with Olivia. We could have used some more. Even though I'm not a passer, I will never be a passer. But that definitely helped with Olivia and Kristen.
The few games I've worked for the season, when you would jump up, Olivia, and absolutely hammer it, I would be so scared for the girls on the other side of the net because in the gym it just echoes. Like when you hit that ball, it just echoes, and I'm like, oh my god, that thing! A couple of times I said on the broadcast, I was like, you got to get a radar gun on that thing because it's just flying at you. And it was like one or twice that a girl was able to actually dig it out correctly, and I'm like, whoa. I'm like, your forearms gotta hurt when going home on that bus. I'm like, that is not fun. You're gonna have bruises the next day.
Yeah, passing is so hard, honestly. Like you have so much ground to cover, you don't even realize it, like until you're actually out there. But yeah, I love hitting. Definitely over passing.
What is it like knowing that your volleyball career here at Plainfield has come to an end?
It's really sad knowing that it's like done. I can't believe each day it felt like it went by like either slow or fast, but like thinking about it now, like 4 years, I felt like it flew by so fast, and like I just can't believe it's done. It's so sad.
It is sad knowing that you're not gonna like play with your teammates and your friends, and that's definitely upsetting, but it's also kind of rewarding because going into freshman year, none of us knew how to play volleyball. Like there was no rec leagues or anything, so we all had to kind of learn it from scratch. And to see like how far we've individually came and even as a team, it's a rewarding feeling.
Emma, what does the recognition of being named to the sportsmanship team mean to you?
When I saw that I was recognized for the sportsmanship award, I was honored, I think, just as any other athlete would be. And honestly, like my initial reaction was I was shocked because I think our whole team presented sportsmanship throughout the whole season. We were always trying to pick each other up, and we'd always try to encourage each other to come on, let's get the next play. Or at practices, we'd always recognize the good passes that we made or the good sets or the good hits. And, I was honored because I think anyone on the team should have been recognized for that award.
Due to video quality, we were not able to sit down with them all at once, but we were able to sit down with them and talk to them about some of their favorite memories.
My favorite memory from previous seasons was probably be the Dig Pink Day. Just the feeling of just going to the game with those pink shirts and just trying to raise money. Those are probably my favorite memories from the previous years.
Yeah, I agree with Faith. Like the Big Pink games are always something to look forward to, and like you prepare it like almost months in advance. You know, you're raising money even during the summer, and you know you're getting all the decorations ready and decorate the gym. You go to other people's gyms and you get to see what they do. So that was definitely fun. And unfortunately, we couldn't have that this year. But as of this year's favorite memory, mine was the Griswold game because you know they're such a good team, and it was our first real competition. And I just had so much adrenaline, and I'm pretty sure everyone else did too. It was a really good game. And even though we lost, you know, I think we played very well as a team, and it was just a really fun game to play.
So I really enjoyed watching my teammates and stuff progress with me and stuff, and us all getting better as throughout the 4 years that we all played.
From this season, I would say that it was just kind of like the energy after the team would get a point, how upbeat it was, how good it felt, and like just like the team energy really, because everyone was just so excited that we even got a season with everything going on, that it just kind of made it that much more important and meaningful almost. So because some people didn't get that much of a season, so
I think specifically this year, my favorite memory was, although it was different, we would play on the softball field, and I think it brought a lot of us closer because we would do like special team bondings, and like it just, I don't know, it just brought us all closer together.
I would say for me, I would just say that being on a team and like the friendships I've created over the past 4 years, because before high school started, I went through a phase where I was just too nervous of like playing sports, and it just was awful. And I was just so scared I wasn't gonna be able to get back into it. And then I finally tried out for volleyball freshman year, and I just grew in love with the sport, and I gained all my confidence back, and it caused me to try out for softball too. And Emma actually is like my best friend, and it's awesome getting to play with her on the volleyball court every single day, and all the other girls too. Like you create such a good bond with all of them.
My favorite memory probably of all time is any Dig Pink game that we've played, because it's one thing to go out and win a game just for your team, but it's another thing to go out and win a game that means more than itself, you know, to help the community. And it was great that we could all come together and do a bake sale and raise money for something that is really important.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Panther Podcast. So I'd like to thank my guests, Emma Gaudreau, Olivia Bissett, Faith Smith, Kylie Shippey, Kristen Ryder, Evelyn Messenger, and Bella Lemoyer for sitting down with me and having a conversation. Executive producer is Mr. Jordan. Project supervisor is Dak Kubicka. On-site producer and creative director is Hannah Irons. I'm Jacob Irons. I'm signing off. Devil Taters. Bye, guys.